Hey guys, again, thanks for watching the podcast. So we didn't realize how long this podcast went until we got done recording it, and needless to say that Kevin and I and Antonio we got a little carried away in our conversation and lost track of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to break this up into two different podcast sections. So we're going to release this first half, and then we'll release the second half next week with Kevin. Again, sorry. We get a little long-winded sometimes. So again, thanks for listening to the podcast. We appreciate you guys' support, and we'll see you guys next week on the next half of this thing. Thanks a lot. Me and Antonio are here with Kevin Gibbons, and going to do a little talking, a little BSing. Kevin is, we met Kevin through Kapture, which is a digiscoping company that we started carrying, and he's one of the engineers, him and his brother Dave. So with that, welcome. Appreciate you, gentlemen, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Kevin, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure.
So Kevin's, I guess we've only really known each other for very long. You've been coming in the shop quite a bit. But
Yeah, I remember coming into the shop, lived down in the valley, down in Mesa area for pretty much since I transferred to ASU, right when my wife and I got married, and but I didn't get into archery for a while. I got into archery about like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's when I started going into the Mesa store.
Gotcha.
And then my brother married a gal from up here, and that's kind of what kind of kicked off the eventual, us eventually moving up here. But so then once we started coming up here a little bit, of coming in the shop up here and started seeing you around. But
Right on.
yeah.
Yeah. So as you guys know, we've been dealing with the Kapture now for probably a month and a half now, and we'll get into that a little bit longer later on this. But right now, we're just going to kind of get a little bit where you're from, your upbringing, what got you in the industry. The archery, the outdoor industry, as big as it is still pretty small.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm always curious about how people got into it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. My whole family was born and raised Arizona. Grew up in kind of Tucson, and then my parents moved us out to be close to my grandparents out in out near the Chiricahuas, Cochise County, way southeast Arizona, and so we kind of grew up out there. Just and it was really rural,
Yeah.
just like hardly anybody anywhere. Like I had to ride the bike for like 5 miles to go to my closest friend's house. So it was mostly like me and my brother and my sisters going up there, just causing a bunch of trouble. We lived next to my grandparents, and Dave and I both love to credit a lot of kind of what got us into our interests and everything from my dad and my grandpa. My grandpa was he was a mechanical engineer, total inventor of just a lot of random stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he invented he made his living actually. He had a shop in Tucson that fabricated a fireplace that, without going into a lot of detail, but he used natural convection to circulate the air in your whole house. No fans, nothing, but just the way that he built it and plumbed the fireplace, you'd have one fireplace that could literally heat your whole house.
Oh, really?
So he actually got a bunch of, they had a deal with like doing spec homes, and got in with some construction companies, inspected out and all that. And my dad was a chemist and really mechanically minded, and so my dad and my grandpa loved just kind of, and my grandpa, when we lived out there, living out in the middle of nowhere, but he still had like a little his garage. He had a machine shop, a couple of machines up there. So we just grew up kind of tinkering and playing with stuff, and my grandpa was always building something. So
Yeah.
it was just really fun kind of growing up there. But I mean, it's like, yeah, we could go into the shop and kind of build whatever we wanted, but then we our 40-acre plot was next to his, and we had no neighbors, so no, like totally unregulated, just 22s, just running out and killing anything that we saw like all the time. Like we I don't know how many thousand rabbits we killed out there, and there's probably some stuff that I shouldn't admit that we killed out there. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just awesome growing up out there. So, so that definitely had a lot to do with David and I. Eventually ended up going into engineering and went to ASU, and kind of that was kind of our, like, growing up. My dad really wasn't into hunting. He loved shooting, so we went and shot all the time. And my grandpa was a big time hunter, But unfortunately, he died when we were. I think I was like 13, 14 when he died. So I didn't really get a chance to like hunt much with him.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I was a kid, hunting was just kind of small game, running around with the 10/22s and just killing a bunch of stuff. And then in college, we got into bird hunting. Dave and I both got bird dogs and trained them up and did a lot of quail and pheasant hunting around, wherever we could. And that was awesome in college because it was just a really quick, easy way to jump out, go hunt for a couple hours. Didn't have to plan like a big hunt and whatever, and then we'd and then come back. So it really wasn't until years later that, I guess I'm kind of skipping ahead, but it wasn't until we kind of owned our own business that we kind of had time to try to get into big game hunting. Mm-hmm. So, but just to, I guess, to kind of fill in that gap, like did engineering at ASU. Right out of that, we ended up both going and working for a company that did body armor. They were everybody kind of knows that Kevlar is like that common.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Kevlar,
yeah.
But actually that's fairly old technology there. Even when we were getting out of college, there was new polyethylene fibers, but they were kind of just barely getting into like learning how to process those. So Dave and I had a fun time working for a startup company that was figuring out how to use some of these fibers, and so we did like chest plates and grew, kind of helped that company grow. But we were like the engine, yeah. Anyway, so. Did that, have fun with that. I was sorry, I decided not to go into a bunch of detail. I'm guilty of telling too long of stories, so we'll skip ahead. Nobody cares. But then ended up going and working for a lot bigger company, BAE Systems. We did a helmet program. The military was looking to use those new polyethylene fibers in helmets.
Okay.
So that was a lot more challenging to process. So that was a fun job. And then David
Is this
and I
all down in the valley?
Yeah. Yeah, the R&D facility for the helmet company was in Phoenix, but the production was in Pennsylvania. So I spent a lot of time going back and forth, Pennsylvania, managing that project. And then it ended up my brother and I both ended up working at Boeing down in Mesa. David was a test engineer and I was a manufacturing process engineer, kind of like developing, that facility primarily makes the Apache helicopter. So they've been making that bird for a long time. So my group was just advancing and developing, more efficient ways to make the helicopter. So it wasn't like a product. It was more of a process development. Gotcha. And then David, he had a more fun job. He was taking like that little bird and he had a cool test where he dropped a little bird onto its skids and had a bunch of accelerometers and whatever. He had a cooler job than I did, for sure. But then, yeah. And then while we were working at Boeing is when my brother and I had. We've always been into shooting. Like I said, my dad was really into shooting, and so we had some firearm ideas, and so we ended up starting a firearm business on the side while we were both still working at Boeing. So then, and so we got a couple of machines, and we ended up kind of like picking up some job shop work to fill in the gaps while we were developing some firearm stuff. And then eventually we got to where our firearm stuff got busy enough, and we had several patents for some different unique stuff that we were primarily an AR, like an AR family type brand. And we had some unique IP that gave us a little bit of a niche in that market. So we did that for about 12 years, and then ended up getting out of that. And then around about that time, kind of while we were winding down with the firearm business, is when we met Eric, our partner in Kapture. Met him on a hunt, and it was interesting because I was just off of my first. So by this time, and maybe I could tell that story a little bit later, but by this time I was kind of new into archery, just freaking loving it, and got lucky, drew a 27 early archery tag.
Nice.
I probably shouldn't admit it on air, but I drew that tag on 2 points. So
we won't hold it.
Yeah, probably won't hold it.
you can hate me for it, for sure.
We'll have to edit that part out.
Yeah. 20, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, so drew that tag, and when I was scouting for that, I had bought a competitor I'll go ahead and say it. I'll say phone scope. The phone scope's actually a minority owner in Kapture, so I'm sorry they won't mind me saying.
Oh,
it,
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
Yeah, they actually
Okay.
are.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, Cheston and those guys. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
we know those guys well, and we work. Yeah. So so I was using a phone scope on my elk hunt, and during scouting it was all right, but as soon as the hunt came and pressure and I was like, I didn't even have time to mess with it. Yeah. And then so I didn't have like a real bad experience. And then Eric, then not long after I had that hunt, we went up to Idaho to hunt a buddy's. He's got kind of exclusive rights on some places in Idaho, and Eric was guiding for that guy, so that's how we met.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
then he kind of, once he learned that we were engineers, he's like, dude, I've got this project I've been trying to get off the ground. I'm not an engineer, and I'm doing my best. And he was doing a great job, and had already some rough prototypes and stuff like that. And so we just kind of hit it off while we're out there hunting, and we go hunt all day. And then at night, we just hang out in the cabin and just kind of dream up a bunch of different ideas of what we might do with this. So over the course of that week on that hunt is kind of where really like the main idea of how we integrate with the optic, we kind of landed on that. And then it was a long process of kind of figuring out the rest of it. But that was, but yeah, what we were still doing Gibbs Arms, the firearm brand at that time. So we just kind of developed this whenever we could. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of worked out. Dave and I were kind of wanting to get out of the day-to-day like kind of running of the business of Gibbs Arms. It was kind of like Gibbs Arms was growing to a point where it's like you can't wear all the hats anymore. So it's like you just got to pick. Like, do I want to be devote more of my time and effort into being a more legit business dude, or do I just want to do the more fun part of the engineering? So it all worked out pretty good. So we right about the time that we were winding down with our ownership in Gibbs Arms is when we really spooled up Kapture and kind of got across the finish line. Took on another investor, a good guy named Rob, and then so it's Dave and I and Eric were kind of the originators, and then Phone Scope had bought in at a minority level. Rob came on, and then that's when we really kind of kicked it into high gear and got it out
sounds like
there.
this is really taking off for you guys too.
Yeah, we're doing. Yeah, and I'm just the engineer. Eric is, but when Eric tells us the reports of like how things are going, I'm like, oh, freak, dude. Like, I'll just say I won't say specific numbers, but I tell Eric, I'm like, Eric, what we've done in the first year took us probably about 5 years of Gibbs Arms before we ever got
I
that
talked
big.
to Eric on the phone a lot, and
Yeah.
super nice guy, and he's super.
yeah.
I mean, all about customer service, 100%.
Yeah.
And he's helped us out a lot, but he just tells me, "Man, dude, it's just nuts.
Yeah.
You really can't keep up with it." I'm like,
Yeah.
that's a good problem to have.
Yeah,
You know, it
absolutely.
could be the opposite way, but
Yeah.
it's such a great product, and we get excited about it. And every time somebody comes in the shop, my 15s are on the tripod all the time, and I'm constantly showing guys, "Hey, check this out." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's the greatest thing ever."
Yeah.
Anybody that's ever done digiscoping stuff understands the frustrations that we've always had with over the top eye cut pieces, and to show people this, that you see the light bulb go off in their heads. And so it's a cool product, and we'll be bringing that. We're gonna do some more reviews with that on our YouTube channel.
Okay.
And talk about that product a little bit more as we go along, because it is a cool product, guys. So you're kind of in the AR business, stuff like that. Now you're kind of an archery guy. So obviously there's a contrasting differences, I would assume, in the industries. Probably some similarities. But where do you find? Hey, now I'm in the archery thing. What surprised you the most about the archery industry versus the gun business?
Yeah. So it's funny because like my I had done a fair amount of hunting like I did kind of small game and then bird hunting and then about like 10 12 years ago is when I was like, okay, let's now we could kind of start doing some big game hunting, and went back to rifle. That was kind of what and then and we had the business by that time, so we did a lot of our first hunting with a rifle. I was on vacation with my wife's uncle has a pretty sick cabin up in Idaho, and we were hanging out there for about a week and a half, and by the end of that week, my uncle convinced me. He's like, dude, you need to try archery. Like
He was an archer.
yeah, he was big time archery guy.
Nice.
He's killed some good stuff. His cabin's loaded with mounts and everything. So yeah, he's just an awesome dude. And so he kind of talked me into. He's like, dude, you got to try archery. So I went back and I talked to a couple of other buddies. My buddy Jared, who's a really good hunter, and so I kind of started pulling the bros and like, hey, I'm thinking about this archery thing, and so they started telling me stuff, and then I was like, man, and I'm, engineer. I love to mess with stuff. I'm pretty hands on, so if I pick an interest, my poor wife, she has to endure all this, but if I pick an interest, I go pretty hard. I go pretty deep. Like,
Do a full send.
so I'm like, so I'm starting to nerd out on all the archery stuff, and yeah, being in the firearm industry for a long time, I thought that there's all kinds. I mean, you can go to talk to anybody and go to any gun shop or whatever, and there's all the black magic voodoo stuff that people think matters. Some of it does, some of it really doesn't, whatever. Like, I thought there's plenty of that in the firearm industry, but when I got into archery, I was like, holy freaking cow. Like, there is so much more, such a higher level of like voodoo,
I don't know why it's like that. I think, I tell guys all the time, people come into the shop and they're like, well, this guy said to do this and this guy said to do that. And I'm like, there's like, you're like, there's 4 steps there you don't need to do.
Mm-hmm.
We just jump to D. We don't need to go A, B, C.
Yeah.
And they go, well, why did that guy tell me that? I always tell guys all the time, if somebody got on social media and said, hey, I got nothing for you today, they're going to quit clicking on you. Well, it's all about the clicks.
Yeah.
So they got to come up with something.
Yeah.
And I think we see, Antonio and I talk about it all the time. We get people to come in the shop, and, my grandfather used to tell me, he goes, hey, one battle test is worth 1,000 opinions. And I live by that. I don't like guys coming in saying, well, this guy said to shoot this broadhead on this elk.
Yeah.
Well, how many elk has he shot with that broadhead? Well, none. Okay, well, how does he know? And there's so much sponsorship and things like that involved in the industry now. But there's a lot. And don't get me wrong, there are some stuff that I'll watch and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And I'll go and I'll try it. I'm like, yeah, that's an easier way of doing it. I'm all about finding an easier way of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not so set in my ways that I won't, but at the same time, there's a lot of crap out there.
Yeah.
And people are so, especially like, you jump into this archery thing and you're into full tilt and it just becomes your life. And you're just like a sponge, soaking everything up.
Yeah.
Well, some stuff's not good to soak up.
Yeah.
And I tell guys, hey, just humble yourself a little bit. Talk to guys. And when I was coming up, it was the Dave Steps, the Randy Ulmers, the Norm Pints. Those are guys that I would, hey, how do I do this? What do I do here? And those guys are way before social media, obviously. But those guys are ones that were out there doing it and killing the animals and winning the tournaments. And
Yeah.
they taught me so much. But I was just like, hey, teach me. I never wanted to be that guy that I knew more than anybody else did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
we
for sure.
talk about it all the time, don't we, Antonio?
Yeah, we sure do. And archery, going from firearm to archery, it's a very different industry and it's very user specific. You can have 2 guns that shoot the same bullet relatively well. You're not going to have 2 bows that shoot the same arrow the same. You're not going to have 2 setups that shoot the same. They're always going to be different. It's very user specific. And that's what's hard with the social media and all those people saying, hey, this is what works. It works for them. Doesn't work for me, might not work for you. So there is that battle proven in it. You have to go out there, and it's a lot of trial and error in archery.
Well, and I think a lot of people too, they, talking about what works for some people and doesn't work for others is somebody will see something on YouTube and say, well, this guy's doing it, it's great. Well, it's like people trying to copy Tim Gillingham. Yeah. Well, Tim Gillingham's 6'5" and got a 32.5-inch draw length. The average guy's got a 28-inch draw length.
Yeah.
What his setup is not going to work for you. His fletching's not going to work for you. His arrow's not going to work for you. And I think people just they get the blindfolds on, and we're so equipment oriented in archery now. It's always equipment. It's always about the equipment.
It's never the archer.
Never the archer.
Yeah, that was another thing. I mean, there's a lot to like shooting and accuracy and everything that goes into that. And like we did a lot of 3-gun competitive stuff, and so a lot more action shooting. So there's a lot that goes into that, and it's super super fun. But it is funny like how. Maybe people wouldn't agree with this, but like in firearms, let's just take like more rifle precision type shooting. Okay. And I'm not talking like PRS. Let's just look at the fundamental of like making a good accurate rifle shot. So, you set it up behind the gun, breathing, good trigger control, good kind of rearward pull, not really influencing the gun. I'd say that, that matters 100%. But it still did not feel like archery, like how you have to hold the bow and how, any little bit of hand torque and all that little stuff. And, how, how to, what are you doing with your shoulders? What are you doing with the posture and all that kind of stuff? It's like there's so much more to it in archery.
Well, there's a guy in here shooting leagues with us, and he, we talked to him a little bit, and I'm like, well, you got to do. And I try when I'm teaching people, I try not to give them too much because the brain can only ascertain a little bit at a time. Mm-hmm. But you kind of start, well, do this and then do that. He's full of questions. Pretty soon he's like, man, my brain is so full of it at full draw. I go, that's your problem, is that we're thinking too much. Your brain can only do one thing at a time. Yeah. But you see, there's a lot we were tuning some bows in here today, and Colton, he's a new employee that we have here, young kid, and he's wanting to learn how to tune bows and work on bows. So we were shooting, and I'd go tune this bow, and he had this paper tear, it was like probably 2.5 inch right tear in it. He's like, well, what am I doing wrong? So I grab it and we shoot a bullet hole. I'm like, it's all in your gun. I always tell guys, hey, tuning is 95% this right here in your hand. And I go, it's just the way you hold it, just a little bit of I go, just put a little fraction of a pressure on your index finger and look at how much of a difference it makes in the tear. Yeah, it's very detail oriented, but it gets to a point where it's muscle memory, and that's where you need to get to. And that's just going out and shooting your bow. I see so many people that come in. We used to have a guy at Mesa, older guy, big old long beard. Stone cold killer. I mean, he's killed more freaking animals than I could think of. Mm-hmm. But these young guys that come in there and and Ron would say, just go shoot your bow. And they don't want to talk to Ron. Let me tell you something. That guy's forgot more about archery than we'll ever remember. But these guys are always like, hey, tune my bow. My D loop's off. This is off. And he'd be like, just go shoot your bow. Yeah. And he was right. So.
Well, because I think, a lot of times if you teach like new people how to shoot, and I'm even going to say this is even more so with women, I feel like women, more often than not, if you're going to throw them behind a rifle or your handgun or whatever, and you take like a relatively new guy, hasn't shot a lot, same level of girl, the girl's probably going to shoot better than the guy for a while.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, but even then, I remember totally going through a phase. Like my buddy Jared we went to the range. I had just bought my bow. And that's kind of a funny story. Maybe I'll come back. Just something laughable. But first time I went out to the range, I shot my bow like twice. And I'm out there with Jared, and my buddy Jared, in high school, he was on track to do Olympic archery. He was really serious about it. And then I remember that day, he's like, how the hell are you shooting your bow so damn good? Like, I had a pretty, we all walked it all. I'm getting tape and dialed all the way out to 100 yards at that range down there in Usery. Mm-hmm. I had a pretty solid group at 100 yards. And he's like, well, how are you shooting that good? He's like almost mad at me. And I'm like, and then the next time I go out, I'm like, I sucked so bad. Like, it's like this little bit of a peak of and then all this stuff starts creeping in and thinking, and little things. So it's like, so then there's that really, once you really start kind of learning what you're doing.
Yeah, we have this archery plateau, we call it. Yeah. And, guys that come in, they're like, oh, this is easy. I'm pounding arrows. All of a sudden, they start watching videos and YouTube, and start overthinking this, and pretty soon, man, they're like, they can't hit the broadside of barn door. Like, what happened? And
it's wild.
Involved.
You get a little bit off with, say you're shooting form, or you start introducing a little bit of push with your trigger finger. You'll see something, but a lot of times it'd be like, well, it's not even that bad. I don't even know. But archery, a little bit of something, like you said, something funky with your grip, it can have a major, at 20 yards, it can have a major.
You throw a broadhead on the front of that, it's even exaggerated that much more. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's, archery is, we've had this conversation about how new archery is. Yeah. And, guns have been around forever. People have been hunting forever, but bow hunting itself is still fairly new in the world.
Yeah.
Which
that was interesting when I was in the shop the other day and we were talking about it. I feel like up until a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about this, I had no clue that when bow hunters, kind of first started, or you would explain it better, but I had no clue that there was a lot of hate for bow hunters when.
Oh yeah.
And I've been trying to think about it. Why? And I'm like, why would people care?
It was more of, it was something different, number one. Mm-hmm. And archery, archery got started, in the Olympics in 1900. And so archery was very social was what it was, and in very social clubs, and he used to have archery clubs back in the day, and it was kind of more of the higher end people would shoot archery. Well, when bow hunting came around, Wisconsin was the first state to have bow hunting. It was in 1934 or 35, I think, is when they had the first bow hunting, and it was 5 days. That was the time you could do bow hunt. But back then, people didn't think it was ethical. They thought that, rifle hunting was much more ethical. You're just wounding a bunch of animals out there.
Oh, like a more effective means of killing the animal quickly?
They didn't think it was very effective at all. States were really, really against it for that reason.
Never mind the fact that, humanity for how long has been killing stuff with a bow before the gun ever came around.
Exactly. And, but they really, and rifle hunters were more, I used to read some books back in the day from Howard Hill and stuff like that, and he would talk about how the gun hunter themselves thought they were more of a hierarchy thing, and that people that shot archery basically weren't hunters; they were just people that were fiddling around and messing up with their animals. But as bow hunting got growing, and it took off. So you see, up and think in Wisconsin, that the first time it was 3 hunters, it was 5 days. Fred Bear, Roy Case, I forget who the other guy was, that were the first bow hunters in Wisconsin. But in 2021, I think the numbers were, Wisconsin had, it was 250,000 bow hunters. They had 114 days of bow season, and they kill over 90,000 deer in archery season. So you can see in that 85 years how much it's grown that way.
Yeah.
But now, I think Game and Fish and things, even Arizona Game and Fish for many, many years, up until recently, hated bow hunting. That lady that used to run, I won't say her name, but she would flat tell us, I hate you guys. You guys leave way too many deadheads out there. You guys aren't ethical. And it had gotten a bad rap until now, as we're starting to see some of the higher ups that they're moving into the Game and Fish now. They're more bow hunters. They're bow hunters themselves, and they're more open to it. And they want to have that conversation. How can we make it better? How do we preserve our OTC over the counter stuff? But there for a while, up and just a few years ago, Game and Fish would hate us.
So if you were to summarize it, it was more of focusing on they saw that it was not as effective as a method of killing the animal.
And the numbers were so much smaller. Even today, bow hunters, about 3.7 million bow hunters in the U.S. compared to 31 million rifle hunters.
Yeah.
So the effort that it takes to have archery only seasons for that small percentage, to them, like, why are we doing this? This is more of a hassle than it is good for us. Now I think with the complex of archery now and how popular it is and the growth that it's had. In the Hunger Games, when the Hunger Games came out, the
archery exploded.
Blew up. I mean,
for real?
Up. Oh, it was stupid. It was crazy.
Because I don't love the movies, so you hate to credit the movie with such a good thing.
Oh, I tell you, when that happened, it was funny. We would be sitting here in the shop and we'd see a car pull up, and all these kids are all like, "Oh, here comes a Hunger Gamer," and you could not buy a recurve bow. Anyway,
really? It was sold out everywhere.
Everywhere.
Really?
Finger gloves, finger taps,
what
arm guards. When was that?
It was a while ago. It was when I first got into it, maybe like 2012, 2013
years ago.
Yeah.
Something like that. But it was absolutely stupid, and the archery industry was not ready for it.
Well,
and that's when you start.
Were most of them getting into just like kind of indoor tournament stuff, just wanting to target shoot?
They just wanted to shoot in their backyards.
Oh, okay.
They wanted.
Well, that's cool.
And Hoyt had the Hoyt Buffalo. Remember the Hoyt Buffalo?
Yep.
And that was the bow they used in the second movie.
Yep.
And I remember a girl came in here one time, and she was like, "Well, about wanting to be Katniss," and I go, "Well, I can get you the exact bow that she shoots." And her eyes lit up. She went. I mean, Hoyt could not make the Hoyt Buffalo fast enough.
Yeah.
And but what we saw in the industry then too was that big influx. All of a sudden, that's when we start seeing all these equity companies come in and start buying up all these smaller companies, and it completely changed the archery industry to what it is today.
Well, like how. Fair to say, Matthews is like the largest bow company.
Yeah,
they're doing like $100 million a year or something.
Yeah,
like that?
it's stupid numbers.
Like what? Like, do you know what they were doing before that rush?
I don't know. It was for the rush. Matthews came on when Matthews came on in 1992. They came out with the solo cam, obviously, and they revolutionized archery. Back then, we were using fast flight strings. We were using it was dual cams. Bows could not stay in time for anything. Well, Matt McPherson came out with the solo cam, and all of a sudden now timing wasn't nearly as critical. They were so much more forgiving. So he started out in a gas station in Wisconsin. Him and one other guy building bows and sending them out.
That's awesome.
But I do know, like with Hoyt numbers and things like that, I mean, it went nuts.
Yeah.
But that's when you saw like the outdoor group come in, and they bought up, Elite and Scott Archery and Winner's Choice and Slick Tricks and Faradyne come in and buy them block and stuff like that. And it ruined the archery industry a little bit, because what happened was you used to have these relationships with these owners that, like Joe Scott and his family made Scott releases, they made CBE sites. Well, when they got bought out, well, all of a sudden now who are we talking to? Who's this guy? And he's just a bean counter with the company, and a lot of things got shipped overseas to get manufactured at that time. The personal part of archery went away pretty quick, and there for a while, we talk about, hey, in a couple of years, you're going to have four sections of the ATA, because those four companies are going to own everything.
Yeah.
And it kind of died down a little bit, and not nearly as bad. But there's still some, you're probably 4 or 5 probably equity companies that are still major role players in the industry.
Absolutely.
But it definitely changed it. But that Hunger Games boom has got kind of, hey, all these people came in that weren't even archers, that came in and said, hey, let's get into this industry.
Yeah.
They started buying up companies.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, it's kind of crazy. I never would have guessed that those movies would have had that kind of impact.
It's nuts the way that works.
Yeah.
There was a Hunger Games. There was the movie Brave, the cartoon. That was a big boost.
Yeah.
What's the Avenger guy that shoots the bow?
Was it
Hawkeye?
Hawk. Yeah.
Hawkeye.
I literally had a customer walk in, full-grown man, come in, with it, and he goes, I need a gated bow, and I want that one that will snap open when I shake it. And I'm like, you want what? And he had seen it on the Adventure, and he thought that bow existed.
Yeah.
I figured you'd have that up there in Show, Brian. What's going on?
Yeah.
I got a lot of bows, but not that one. I had a guy bring me a Darton bow in yesterday, an old 1978 Darton USA.
Yeah.
Pretty cool little bow.
That's cool.
When I was in here a couple weeks ago, Dave and I were in here. You kind of said it in passing, but I was thinking about it more afterwards. So you made it sound like kind of back in the day, a little bit, not that long ago, obviously, but that you're almost like kind of hacking together bows, like just piecing together bows.
Yeah, so we call it Frankenbowing, and back in the late 80s, early 90s, we did a lot with high countries for some reason. I don't know why we did with high countries so much, but so back in the day, if you wanted to get your bow faster, we would actually trim the limbs down. Cut it in half an inch or 3/4 of an inch off the limbs, and we put them in the limb pockets. Yeah. We were changing our brace heights and the limb deflections and getting more speed out of them. The bows are where they're built today, and the way they interlock, you can't do that. But back then, it was just a straight piece of glass. Yeah. But we would take risers off of one bow and bring limbs off another bow, and then a set of cams off another bow, and we build this bow together. Back then we were all chasing speed.
Yeah.
And I told you, I think I remember the first time I saw a bow hit 300 feet per second. I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah.
And we thought it sounded like a 30-06 going off when it went. But
well, it is kind of interesting to think that you think like the godfathers of archery, they're all still alive. Well, most of them.
A lot of them are.
Most of them are. Yeah. Like Pete Shapley's still alive. When did Fred Bear die?
Fred Bear died in 78 or something like that?
Yeah.
It was just after he moved to Gainesville.
Yeah, okay. So he's definitely
he's been gone for a while, yeah.
But you had like Miles Killer. You had Fred Bear, obviously. Chuck Adams is still alive, still going. There's still some people out there that saw all this from start to finish.
Yeah.
And where it's come today.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of people wouldn't really realize is like just how new compound archery really is.
Yeah.
Like John Moses Browning, a lot of these guys, that started, the big names in firearms. They were their heyday was like early 1900s.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to think that
ours is like 1974 is when the compound bow.
for something like the bow, how old is the bow? But just that
the compound bow?
Oh well, archery obviously is like ages old,
Yeah.
And then but compound is so new. It's kind of
Wilbur Allen invented the compound bow in 1968, patented in 1969. Really brought it to market in 1974, and then Tom Jennings took that and made the Model T, which that's what he called it, was the Model T, and that was the first really production hunting bow that was available. And you stop to think, then you had the Dartons in 1978. You had the PSEs in the late 70s, mid to late 70s. It hasn't been that old.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy.
No, it's awesome.
And you look at
awesome.
the technology. I've showed you some of the old bows I've got. Antonio, he laughs and he'll call me up and say, "Hey, do you want this old piece of junk that came in today?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take that."
More than likely, yeah.
Yeah, don't throw it away.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome.
But I love the archery history, and because, and the reason why is because those guys are leaving. Those guys are dying off, and those stories are dying off with them.
Yeah.
People are getting into archery now. They see the bows today, and they don't appreciate
where it came from.
What I saw back in 1984, in the late 80s, of what bows were. It's like, my gosh, and we got it so much easier now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Super cool. Yeah, I was gonna say I could my going back to my first bow, once my uncle kind of convinced me to try archery, I started looking around, and then obviously my buddies are like, "Dude, you got gorilla arms, so your draw length is pretty long," and I measure at about a 32-inch draw, and so I'm just trying to figure out what I could get, and then I quickly learned that I'm like, I'm a little bit limited because my draw length's a little long and everything. So what I ended up doing was just like, hey, I jumped on Coos Whitetail, on the forum, and I was just like, hey, I'm wanting to get into archery. The limiting factors are I'm a 32-inch draw, and I kind of just want to, I'm a taller dude, and so I literally was just like, hey, I own an AR company. If somebody wants to trade a bow for an AR, hit me up. so within like an hour later, some dude hits me up. He said, hey, look, dude, I think I got a bow that's going to be pretty perfect for you. And so I ended up meeting up with him the next day. And how dumb I was. I'm looking at the bow, and I'm like, dude, this is sick, man. I'm like, okay, and looking at the bow, and I'm like, all right, cool. You cool with this? And I was like, and he's like, yeah, no. So we do. But even in the trade, he's like giving me all this stuff, and I'm thinking like, well, I don't know how much. He has a whole dozen of the Kinetic Pierce Platinums, and I'm like, no, I'll get my own arrows. Don't worry about it. He's like, no, you're gonna want these arrows. These are like $200 worth of arrows. I'm like, oh damn, okay, all right, I'll take the arrows. so then I go out and start shooting everything. But yeah, no, I fell in love with it, man. It was, again, we were still doing a lot of competitive rifle, 3-gun and action shooting, super fun. But it was such a difference between, you can go to the range, you don't have to have an RO. You can be by yourself. It's so quiet, it's serene. It's almost like
bullets.
Yeah. You can go down. You walk down. It was. I was surprised at how therapeutic it was.
Right.
I just loved kind of being out there. You can go anywhere. Like you said, you can throw a target in your backyard. You can.
I see a lot of husbands that come in with their wives and they're like, I don't think my wife will like. Like, oh, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Women gravitate toward archery more than they do guns sometimes because one, it's not the big bang, it's unintimidating, and you'll find that a lot of. And not to mention, wives want to go out there and be with their husbands.
Yeah.
They may not want to hunt, but they want to go out there in the backyard and shoot their husbands. Yeah. So you see a lot of that.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone. Hope you guys are enjoying the podcast with Kevin. Had a great conversation with this guy. We want to thank you guys for listening to the podcast. And for doing so, we are giving out a 10% discount to you guys for our online web store. If you use BowPress 10 at checkout, you'll get 10% off on anything that we're contractually allowed to discount with manufacturers. So it's just our way of saying thank you. Appreciate you guys listening. Please do like and subscribe. We got more stuff coming for you guys. If anything else, let us know. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I've got all my kids' bows and everything, and so we were doing the 3D archery events. I was able to take my son up to the TAC event Utah this year. We were working it for Kapture, and so Eric and I took our boys and just I don't know how often you can do this with a gun. We were just like, yeah, good, go hit the range, go and hit the mountain, whatever, and go unsupervised.
Probably not with a gun very much.
Yeah.
You were gonna say something, Antonio?
I was, but I forgot what it was.
That's how you get old, isn't it?
Yeah.
Welcome to my world now.
What was this your first TAC event?
The first. No, I've done TAC a couple of times before. Mm-hmm. The first one was a while. I had just got my bow. I kind of got into it, and I was shooting a lot and just having a lot of fun. And I did the Sunrise event. Like about a year after I kind of got into archery, did the Sunrise event, and I don't know if he's still around, but the Grizzly Years guy, the guy, it was
I don't think he's around anymore.
I don't think he's around, but he was a vendor at the up there, and we just got BSing, and one thing led to another, and he's like, hey, I happened to be in Utah for a family vacation that we were doing up there, and he's like, well, hell, I'm going to be up there at the TAC event. You want to come shoot? And I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. So he hooked me up, and I went and shot the Park City event, and then yeah. So I hadn't really gone back and done a lot of the different TAC events. I would always hit up all the locals. So I shoot Sunrise and a few of the Hike to Hunt out there. I love that one.
And those are growing. I mean, Sunrise used to be huge.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever done a TAC event?
I have. I did the one in Colorado. I worked it with Chris with Bowtech.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
I went and ran the booth with him and got to shoot up a lot. And it's insane how many people go to those shoots. And
dude,
like
it's
for
so wild.
It's a fun time.
Yeah, for it being a fun shoot, like how organized and how well everything flows. Because you always hear about competitions, and Brian, you go to them, but I feel like they're always super disorganized and last minute. And then these fun ones are just easy to go and shoot. And you don't have to worry about anything.
Well, I think there's no expectations at that point.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there's no, you're not shooting for score.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild that such a big event and no one's shooting for score, but they get so many
I think it's
people.
why it brings in so many people.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so fun. It's so fun. Yeah, this is definitely not TAC's fault because this year it was at Solitude and it was nuts. It was just so many people. So it was, and the venues kind of sprouted. And again, I don't blame TAC as an organization. It's just, it's so popular. There's so many people coming.
Now, I went to a TAC years ago when it was at Snowbird.
Yeah.
And I get there, and I've never been to a TAC event before, and there's 4 courses, they told me. And I told Dan, we'll knock these out in one day.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, yeah, we got our target rigs, big old long stabilizers, let's go.
Yeah. Nope.
I was so gassed at the end of that day after one course. I'm like, no way in hell.
Yeah.
But I asked the guy there, hey, how many people do you have coming? He's like, back then they had about 1,100 people go through the TAC. And he goes, this is the biggest one in the West. And at the time, Sunrise was doing about 3,200 shooters at the time, at that same time. Now, granted, kids and things like that. But what I didn't see at TAC was like women and kids. Now it's full of women and kids.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's become a family event.
Yeah. I think this year when the TAC guy was rolling around our booth and we were BSing with him, I think he was saying that this year they initially were try to get a permit for 6,000, and then but then with the Forest Service they ended up having to limit it to 5,000.
That's
but yeah,
crazy.
there's 5,000 people.
Yeah,
there.
it's just nuts. It's just blown up.
Yeah.
It's a huge event.
Yeah.
And it's growing. I mean, you look at there for a while, ASAs were growing, things like Reading and things like that. TAC, it just simply in the last 4 years, it's just gone nuts. And all the manufacturers now recognize that, and now they're there. When I was going up there was, there'd be like a rep up there with a little pop-up tent or something on his truck. Now it's a full-blown thing.
All the bow brands were there.
Yeah, it's a full thing.
Yeah. Well, and there's like 12 events there was 12 events, I think, in the last summer. It's 11 or 12, something like
they
that.
keep rolling them.
Yeah.
All over the
It's
country
crazy.
now.
Yeah.
Good for them. I mean, it's great for the sport.
Yeah, no, and it's great to get families involved in it and not be at that competitive level. The competition stuff has its place, but not everything has to be at a competition level.
Unless you're my wife.
Yes.
then there's always a score being kept somewhere.
You may not turn in the score, but between you and me,
There's a score.
There's a paper coming out.
She is in her head.
Yeah.
There's a score.
It was funny coming back from this TAC event. It actually kind of wet my whistle for like, I don't know, I might want to try like an ASA because I watch them all on YouTube, but man, there's just not a big presence out here for.
There's not, and there used to be. The ASA guys hate it out here because of the ups and downs and the undulations. So it's harder for them to judge. So back in the day, before known really became what known is now, it was all an unknown sport. And guys would come out here, and in Arizona, out here in the West, we would set targets at 2 or 3 yards. It blew their minds. They're like, I mean, these guys are like, big time professional. Going, I don't know how to shoot that, and they were getting pissed. I remember Tim
You
Gilligan
look pretty
came out
silly
and
at 2 yards. Can't hit a 12 at
You'd be
at 2
surprised
yards,
how hard that is.
But yeah, that'd be humbling for sure.
There's some serious cut charts going on in your head on that one.
Oh, yeah.
But those guys, so they're trying to make a push for it now. ASA is trying to do some stuff out here now. But if you go to an ASA event, it's flat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's flat. It's like, my gosh, it's you go down a road and you come back a road. There's no here. We do a lot of walking up and down. That's kind of the fun of a 3D course, like Sunrise. It's the ups and downs and being in the mountains. When you go to an ASA event, it is flat. And if it's got any hills, man, you're talking about some people complaining.
Well, so they straight up complain about it.
Oh yeah. I'll tell you.
Well, I mean,
all my target archers, I'm gonna apologize, but target archers are prima donnas.
Yeah.
My gosh, I mean, we'll bitch about everything.
Yeah.
We'll find a way to complain about something.
Yeah.
So
They're the funnest people to deal with. We'll put it that way. At the shop.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I think that's why TAC's so much fun, because it's not really a target
event
crowd.
Yes.
It's a bow hunter crowd.
Exactly.
last week on your guys' podcast, you guys, talked. It was funny to listen to, and talked about customers and all that kind of stuff, and kind of the, what is there like a you just said target archers. Is there a group or a category of dudes that cause you the most stress, or are the, funnest to deal with in the customer?
You want to answer that one? You want me to answer
Target
that one?
archers and YouTube watchers. Those are the two that probably give you the most issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, they always think they know more than you, and not to say that they don't know more than us, but they want things a certain way. They saw it on YouTube that this guy ties his peep this way, and so the way I tie my peep in doesn't work. And I've told people, I'm like, hey, you can move my peep, I'll retie it however you want. You can move my knots, go ahead. You can sit there and play with it, and
Yeah.
Yeah, they will.
Go ahead.
No, they will. They'll move them around.
Oh yeah, they will. Or they'll cut them out and cut a string and then blame us for it.
When you're talking about like target archers, I think so. Everybody watches ASAs. Everybody watches the Paige Pierces, the Tim Gillinghams, the Levi Morgans. All these people, and you have and I'm going to catch some crap on this one. I know, but I want to say it anyways. But you get these people that all of a sudden, like, it's all about being sponsored.
Yeah.
They don't care. My thing about being sponsors is if you win, they hand you a paycheck.
Yeah.
That's sponsorship. Because you get a half off on a dozen arrows or whatever, or you get, a 50% off on a release, that all of a sudden now you're sponsored by such and such brand. But it's this thing that, hey, I should get a free bow. I won the Clint's Wells buckle shoot. Why isn't Hoyt giving me a free bow? And I've always told people all the time, if you're good enough, they know who you are already.
Yeah.
You don't have to go knock on their door or beg for something. They're already watching you. And it's all about pushing product for sponsorships. Deanna's a fine example. Deanna, she's sponsored. She pushes product. She's not a social media person. She hates that thing. That's social media stuff. But if she wins, she gets a check. And you see all these people say, well, I'm sponsored by this, or I should be sponsored by this because I won this and this and this. You go to ASA and you go to these national events, that's a whole nother ballgame than shooting a local yokel 3D event.
Yeah.
And I think that's when people, you could be the best regional guy there is. You put it on a national stage and all of a sudden, man, you're in the top 100.
Well, it was interesting because, like you said, here's a bunch of people that, okay, you're really not, you don't have that much influence. You're not winning in front of that many people. Mm-hmm. It's kind of not reasonable to expect that you get this much. And then when you, but like I was listening to I think it was Levi Morgan's podcast not too long ago, and it's kind of like, it's not, for when you get to that level and the type of support that brands want to give these guys, it's not even enough to be top dog archer. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, how big's your influence? How big's your social media following?
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
You're winning. That's great, but can you do a post every week and a product review and all this? And we really need you to be, we're tracking your promo code, and if you're not selling 20 grand in bows or whatever a month, then hey, you got to step up.
And that's where the industry has changed so much, because it used to be the people that were winning on the podium, or they were the top. Now it's about clicks.
Yep, it's about who's got more followers.
I can remember, I don't know how many years ago, it was before Adam Greentree got in trouble. He was just kind of coming up. Really, that's a guy from Australia.
What did he do?
I forget what he did. He got a game violation or something like that, and he got busted. But I remember Hoyt calling me and saying, "Hey, Adam Greentree's in New Mexico on an elk hunt, and he had his bow up against a trailer, and the exhaust blew his bow up."
we're overnighting you parts. He's going to be there tomorrow. You need to get him back up and running on this hunt. I'm like, well, that's great. I go, I've ordered parts 3 weeks ago, and I still haven't got my parts yet. But Adam Greentree blows up, and we got it overnight. Well, he's a super nice guy. But I'm like, who's this Adam Greentree guy? And they're like, oh, you know who he is? He's got 250,000 followers. I'm like, never heard of him. But it was all about those followers and those influencers, and that's where the industry's at right now. It's all about social media and making clicks.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And that can be a dangerous
and
game.
I get it. What's
So that can be a dangerous game. You got
It can,
Got it.
but I think it makes other people think, well, I've got a YouTube channel. I'm going to go make my little YouTube videos so I can be the next Cameron Haynes, or I can be the next Levi Morgan, or the next Lee and Tiffany from Crush.
Yeah.
I mean, those molds have already been made and broke. I mean, it's kind of hard to reinvent the wheel with some of these
Exactly.
guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Cameron Haynes, I mean, that guy, I remember Cameron Haynes when he was Eastman Bowhunting editor back in the day. And look how he's blowing up now. It's just nuts. And super nice guy. Does a lot for the sport. He's a great ambassador for it.
Yeah.
But you're always going to have people that in the industry, we used to go to the ATA shows, and you'd see the celebrities walking around, the Michael Waldells, the Lee and Tiffany's, the Buck Commander guys, things like that. And people just like flock to them. I mean, like, oh my gosh. And they're most of the time they're super nice people. But some of these guys, like I remember the old Spook Span. Remember that guy from back in the day? You remember Spook Span? Had a TV show, and the poached that big old freaking deer and shot on the wrong side of the fence or something like that. It's like 200-something inch deer,
Yep.
and got busted and ruined it. Ruined his career because of that. So
Yeah.
archery's a very small community.
Very small.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody in this community.
Yeah. Well, even the hunting community in general, because I have my own personal experience hunting with just family and bros, whatever, growing up, and then getting into the firearm industry, and then you go to SHOT Show. I mean, that is a massive show. That's the firearms main trade show for the firearm world, one of the big shows. So, that there's multiple venues in Vegas that they have to rent out, and if you were literally going to walk and cruise and hit every booth, and even if you were going to only spend a couple of minutes in every booth, I mean, it would take you 3 of the 5 days just to even get in front of every booth. When we started kind of spooling up the Kapture thing, and I hadn't really done like hunt specific shows. We went to the expo, the Salt Lake Expo,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm like, freaking half a day. Well, I've seen everything in half a day. It's so, and then going with Eric, because Eric's obviously been in the hunt, like knows that crowd really well. So it's like, yeah, he knows everybody, and we're talking to everybody there. But it just, pretty quick you learn like how, even like the hunting industry. Obviously, the hunting is huge, but even like if the hunting show is representative of the hunting community, then okay, it's a lot smaller. And then, like you said, archery specific is that smaller subset of that. But
Yeah, and the shows are changing nowadays.
yeah,
The shows it's not what they used to be. I think COVID really hammered the trade shows and things like
Yeah.
that. ATA, Antonio and I've been to it not a few years ago, and it's from what it used to be back in the day. It's nothing anymore.
Yeah.
That's why they're opening it up this year to
the public,
consumers now,
Yeah.
because they have to.
Yeah.
This is dying on the vine.
yeah. SHOT Show did the same thing. They a couple years ago they started having like an outdoor retail area that if you weren't a trade member, you could still kind of get into that area. And I don't want to misspeak. I thought I heard some rumors that they might have been doing. We haven't done SHOT Show for the last couple of years because I'm not like in the firearm, don't own a firearm company anymore. But yeah, but yeah, you're right. Around COVID, it was like year after COVID, I was like, man, why are we here? Like, there's certain things that are always good, and certain people. It's always great to kind of connect with people that you only see
a networking
at
thing.
these shows. So networking's always solid. But it just showed that you don't have to do the show that way.
You don't have to spend that kind of money
Yeah.
to sell product. I
Yes.
think it's what it showed. A lot of these industries
Yeah.
are like, hey, we can cut our booth size down a lot, our
Yeah.
footprint, and
Yeah.
still sell the same amount of bows. I think that's what COVID kind of showed. And like me and Antonio talk a lot. The stuff's so early now. That's being released. By the time we get to a trade show, be it a NABA or an ATA show, we've already seen everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We go there to find that one guy that garage bandit who built a broadhead. They're like, oh, never
Yeah.
saw that before. Let's check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything else we've already seen, and we already got our hands on them usually.
Yeah, usually it's
Yeah.
already on the shelf by that time. We're already selling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've always said if I was a manufacturer at a show, I mean, it's great to get to retailers and talk to the pro shops, stuff like that. But I need that end user going in and asking for my product at the shop.
Yeah.
Because shops, we're guilty of it, kind of directing the direction we want it to go. But if you get a guy that, that's why marketing, that's why Matthews is so huge. The marketing money they do, that's why they drive people to the door for that brand. And it's all about marketing now. So
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, marketing is such a, I'm an engineer, so I'm glad that I don't have to worry about the marketing side of things for the brand. That's Eric and Rob's job. But at least in this industry, like, we can do paid advertising, and that's been huge for us. Honestly, it's been a major component of our growth. So, but yeah, I remember coming in, because like when David and I ran Gibbs Arms, we kind of did wear all the hats and kind of had to work. We had a lot of good dudes and all that, but ultimately we kind of had to at least try to understand what was going on to try to grow the brand. And like, man, dude, the firearm industry is handicapped so bad. Like, we can't do paid advertises, no Google ad spend, nothing like that. So it's
really?
super organic. Yeah, because even if you did a really benign ad that didn't even show a firearm or shooting or whatever, but if they literally look at the company, us as a company doing the ad, and saw that we were a firearm company, that not approved. So growth in the firearm industry is tough, because again, like, the powers that be kind of think it's too taboo or whatever, and so they
and in the fire industry too, it's not like bow hunting is, with the archery industry, it's kind of regional.
Yeah,
like they don't put another Matthews dealer right next door to you.
Yeah,
type things. And in the gun industry, it seems like there's a Glock dealer.
If you got an FFL,
dealer,
that's very few brands that will that there's certain ones. The ones that were more like a Night Force, certain accessories, like that kind of stuff. They wanted to kind of have some regional selection. But if you're talking like if I'm a new FFL and I got a federal firearms license, if I want to carry Ruger and a gun shop across the street has Ruger, then they're not going to care. Like, and maybe someone would correct me on that, but from what I remember,
from what I see, it's like that.
Yeah,
and there's not a lot of margins. It's kind of a
you got
business.
Sportsman's and the Hub and whatever. They're all carrying the same major firearm brands,
Sure,
and accessories and whatever. So but
I mean, we complain about how much the archery industry is growing and how close pro shops are getting to each other, but it could be a lot worse.
Yeah,
we could be in the gun industry.
Yeah,
the gun industry scares me. It takes the personality out of the shop. Like, I got to work with that person.
I've had so many people come in and want us to like open up like a gun, like make a gun section, like these custom gun guys, and I'm like, I get it, but it ain't my thing. I'm a stick and string guy. I don't understand it, and they go, I'll run it for you. I'll do it. I'm like, it just doesn't fit what I. And a lot of shops do that. A lot of shops are now going archery and guns and things like that to survive. It's just not my thing. I just can't do it.
When you got big things like Shields and Bass Pro and those guys that carry, they don't carry the. The good thing about, I guess Shields is really the only one that I could think of that carries like high end bow stuff, because like Bass Pro and Sportsman's, you're not worried about their competition on the archery side of things. But
no, I've always said, and I used to tell guys, other archery shops that are opening up, like they would have a Bass Pro or a Sportsman's opening next door, and they'd just be freaking out. I go, dude. If I could open up right next door to a Bass Pro, I'd open up a pro shop right next door. Bounce off of all their marketing and all their driving, and have a pro shop that sits right next door. I'd sell tons of stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's about having it's about having some skin in the game.
Yeah.
People walking in and you know what you're talking about, and being able to explain something to them, not just being an order taker and saying, that bow. I mean, we see it all the time in bows that come in from big box shops, and you're like, oh my gosh, why did they sell you this bow?
Yeah.
Because they didn't know. So
but
Shields does it. They do high end stuff. I don't know about the setup process of it, but they do high end, and they do well with it. So we definitely felt it in our shops.
Yeah, definitely hurt us a little bit.
But the new kind of wears off, and it's like I used to do a ton of optics out of this store up here. I mean, a ton of optics, Swaros, Leicas, Vortex, and then when Sportsman's opened up.
Well, it's funny because they've kind of gone away from stocking a lot of the higher end
Well,
stuff.
now I get people coming in now and saying, I thought you carried Vortex. That was
did.
7 years ago, man. I was like, because when you're the fourth stop
Yeah.
it's hard to stock that stuff.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
when you type that kind of inventory dollar, the further I get away from a bow and an arrow, the worse I do.
Yeah.
And there's times there's nil niches. It's like I did camo clothing for a while, and great margins, but you never have the size somebody wants. And you're like, oh my gosh, I got $10,000 worth of freaking jackets sitting there, and you need this other size. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's definitely changing.
You know, with all the products that can be direct to consumer, people just buy online. But then, yeah, that's the beauty of having a skill set that nobody can really have. You know, they got to come. You know, unless they are doing it or capable or would have their own setup or their own bow press, whatever, then they're going to come in. So, that did remind me of another question. Is there a type of is there a category of people that you think like want to tinker with their own bows the most, or?
I think everybody wants to tinker with their bows.
Yeah.
I think everybody wants to be the bow tech.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And I mean, that was me some years ago.
Yeah.
I just want to start messing with it. Don't laugh. I wanted to work on my own bows. And so I have no problem with people trying to work on their own bows. I encourage, go for it. What I don't like is when they come in and say, hey, show me how to do this so I don't have to bring my bow back to you. That's where I have the problem at. It's like me going to a mechanic and saying, hey, show me how to put this alternator on so I don't have to bring it back to you next time.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Yeah.
I had a guy, he was from a town 45 miles away, and he came in. I was working on this kid's bow, and he's telling me how he's going to open up this shop, he's going to do this pro shop. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And then literally in the same sentence goes, hey, can I come back and watch how you do that? And I'm like, no. And he got pissed off at me. I'm like, you just told me you're going to go and compete against me. What I find with a lot of people is that archery is a very social hobby type business for everybody. It's their kumbaya. It's like, hey, go hang out with the buddies. Everybody help each other out.
Yeah.
But in a pro shop, we're here to make money. This is a
Yeah.
business. This is how I support my family. This is how Antonio supports his family. This is what we do. And for people to come in and say, well, you're going to charge me to tie that peep in? Well, I don't need the practice. I'm going to charge you.
Yeah.
That bow press, that's $1,000 bow press sitting there for me to press it. You can go press it at your house, if you want. I don't have one. Exactly. I got to pay for the bow press.
Yeah.
So I think when people, that's the problem I have with people, that it's not about, or anybody can learn how to tie peeps in and D loops, things like that. The timing and figuring out the quirks. Say, hey, I got a high tear, low tear. How do I fix that? That's just going to come with time, learning that. There's nothing wrong with people want to be a bow tech. It's just how you want to be about it. Everybody wants a shortcut. Like, hey, I want to know it right now.
Yeah.
I had a guy just today ask me, hey, if I come in here, kind of hang out part time, can you show me how to do this stuff? I go, what's your goal? I just want to work on my own stuff. I mean, I get it, but I really don't want to teach it.
Yeah. No.
I mean, it's just not my thing. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not going to drive my customers away by training them to so that's
Well,
and I get a lot of flack. Go ahead.
well, not just that, but I mean, we get it down here in Mesa a lot too. People are like, hey, I want to come work for you. You don't have to pay me. I just want to learn. And it's like, okay, great. But when you're training a new person, they make mistakes. The shop has to eat those mistakes. We have to replace that string that you just burnt. We have to replace that mod screw that you just stripped out. And for you to go learn and do it on your own, well, does it make sense for us to shop? Because now, not only are we losing the money that we could have charged you for that service, but now we're actually paying to teach you because we have to fix all your mistakes. And that's what people don't really look at or see that point of view. Is it's not as simple as you just come behind the counter and watch what I do. It took me a long time to get to the point where I can do what I do the way that I do as fast as I do, because I've been put in my 10 years of learning and putting into it and tinkering with it. So yeah, people always want to shortcut us, and it is frustrating sometimes, and you kind of have to explain that to people, because I think they inadvertently expect like, oh, it's super easy, everybody's exactly the same, and they're not.
They're not, and I think a lot of times too is, it's to train somebody up to do something. I can do it. I'm not one of those guys that just got on my way. I'm just going to do it. If I got a customer standing in front of me and I need to,
you need it done now.
Or whatever. It's like just move. I don't have time for you to sit there and do this, because time is money and this customer's waiting. And so I got to tell Antonio, I'm the world's worst teacher. I suck at it. I just assume everybody knows it. And it's like, I poor Colton, our new guy, I'm like, hey, dude, you have to ask a lot of questions, because I don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
And he's pretty good about it. But some people don't ask questions, or they do like, yeah, I got it, and then they don't have it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, what? I thought you said you had it. Well, I thought I did.
Yeah.
There's a lot to, the problem with bows that there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of power there, and you can get hurt with it. It doesn't take much to blow a bow up, and like Antonio says, you can spend a lot of time and money training somebody, and then to have them just look, okay, hey, thanks for 4 months of it. See ya. I ordered me a bow press and a bow vise. I'm working on my garage now. It's like, really?
Yeah.
It's hard to get. Archery is not a plug and play position.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones you got to have some skin in the game. You got to have a love for it because nobody's going to get rich doing it.
Yeah.
You got to have a love for this thing, and you got to be in it for the long term. Because if you're just in it, hey, I just need a summer job. Well, I don't need that. I'm not going to spend all my time paying you to be here, training you, so that when hunting season rolls around, you bail on me.
Yep.
Yeah.
I used to have a guy, well, it was a Ron guy from Mesa. He used to tell people, guys come in, I want to work in an archery shop. And you go, why do you want to work in an archery shop? Because I love archery. He goes, go work at a fishing store.
Yep.
Because you don't have time to do archery.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's true. I don't get, I for so long, I hunt the off seasons. It's like I don't get to hunt the prime times because I got to be at the shop.
Yeah, and that's when all the customers are in there and having to deal with all their stuff and
Yeah.
deal with all their issues. Which, so yeah, along those lines, what I'm sure you hear, because I've got some parallels on the firearm stuff, but what's like the type of stuff that customers come in and say, oh, hey, I need you to look at my bow because this happened, and and then when you take one look at their bow, they're like, I can probably tell you what happened.
So for years, I've always said I'm going to have a sign that says it just blew up.
It just blew up.
Because that's the common thing.
Yep.
I'd be like, guys will walk in here. I had a guy call me the other day. We did a string for him 2 years ago, I think it was, on a diamond core. He says, hey, I'll shoot my bow today, and the string just snapped on me. You guys just put that string on it for me recently. Well, I looked him up. I go, oh, it was 2 years ago we did a string for you. I go, where did it snap at? Right at the peep. I go, your peep cut the string. No, it didn't. I go, you understand that's 24 strands that it snapped immediately in that same spot.
Yeah.
I go, I've seen enough blown up bows in my life to tell you, like, hey. And sometimes you're like this forensic, guy. You're like, so tell me what happened.
Oh, yeah.
And you start going through the process, and you're like, yeah, it's like, physically you can't do that,
And then you got to weigh in your mind, like, okay, do I be a dick to these guys? Because he's like,
Exactly.
especially if they cop an attitude, and they're like, well, like it's almost kind of implying it's your fault.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you're like, well, let me tell you, it's pretty obvious that.
Well, Antonio will attest to this. Antonio's like he's the PR guy. I'm the asshole. Because guys will walk in here and they'll say, you did this and you did that. I'm like, whoa, back up the train here, buddy. Let's talk a little bit about it. I'll hold the bow, and then, the crushed part of the cam is bent. I go, you didn't dry fire it? Nope. I was at full draw, and it just busted. So I go, you realize what happens with a bow if it's at full draw and the string just breaks. I go, where'd your arrow go? It about shot the neighbor's horse. Then you pull the trigger.
Yep.
Because you cannot propel that. If I cut that string, that arrow's dropping at your feet.
Yeah.
It has nothing to go. Their rested all folded forward. I'm like, you shot the bow. And a lot of people don't realize, to them, it just blew up. They don't understand that. I don't know what happened to it. And I get that. Be humble about it. Come and say, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
The guys will walk in there and immediately start pointing fingers. Well, you worked on my bow 2 years ago. I'm like, whoa, wait a
Total
minute.
different
Come on.
reaction from us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Similar thing if you shoot the bow without an arrow, right? Like if
so you shoot a bow without an arrow. So you always hear the word dry fire, but everybody says, "Oh, I have an arrow in it." But there's different phases of a dry fire. I can have an arrow in it, and the arrow can get pinched off the string at full draw, and you not know that's off. Well, as soon as you shoot it, it's like blowing that bow up. It just snaps that arrow, and the bow. It needs the resistance of that arrow, because if you look at a slow-mo video, it collapses and the strings get really loose. So because we say, hey, it was dry fire, it doesn't mean it was dry fire. It means I've seen a lot of dry fires that had an arrow in it. The arrow, the knock split, or the arrow came. I had a guy years ago. He came in. We put strings on his bow for him, built it. He takes it home, and I'm sitting in the store. I probably had like 5 or 6 guys in the shop. And I see he comes in this Jeep and he skids. I mean, comes skidding to a stop at the front door. Gets out. His bow's in pieces.
So he's broadcasting his attitude.
Yeah, he is not happy.
All right.
He comes walking this door, and I mean, his bow's in pieces. And I'm like, what happened? He throws the bow across her, and chucks it at me. His arm is bleeding. I mean, he's bloody. He's like, USOB, I'm out. He's going, I go, whoa, calm down, man. I go, let me get with these people. I'll take a look at it. And he goes, I'm going to sue you. I'm like, relax, man. Let's just come. He goes, I'll be back tomorrow. He leaves. I'm like, holy crap. So I get out of bed. I start looking at the bow. His whisker biscuit is literally folded forward. Okay. I put the string back up kind of where, and it snap on the lobes. So they come in the next day. It's him and his wife. And he is livid. I mean, he is hot. I'm buying him a new bow. He's got a Kaibab deer tag, all this crap. And I'm like, so he walks out of the store for some reason. His wife's standing there. She goes, man, he is mad. I go, I get it. I go, so tell me. I go, where did the arrow go? She goes, we never found it. She goes, it took off sailing. Over the houses. I have no idea. So he comes back in. I'm like, so tell me exactly what happened. I was at full draw. I just barely got. I was hardly even aiming. Anything just blew up on me. I go, you didn't pull that trigger? He's like, nope, I didn't pull the trigger. So I go, look at your rest. Look at this. I'm getting the whole scenario. If I'm at full draw, I take a string, I hold it back, I go, cut it. The arrow falls. I go, here. I go, I'm going to build you another set of strings. The bow wasn't nothing. The cams weren't tacoed. I'll build you another set of strings. I'll take care of it for you. I build it. He does it. He comes back in. I go, come back here and let's shoot this bow, and I want to see it. He grabs one of his arrows. He comes back, and at full draw, I see that arrow go and come off the D-loop. I go, oh, don't shoot, let up. I go, how old are these arrows? Oh, I've had them for 8 or 9 years. Had the original Knox on there, and they were wallowed out. Yeah. And so as he was coming up there, he didn't have a Knox set on that deal. So as he did it, it was pinching it off there and just popping it off. So as he shot, that arrow just basically just disintegrated.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize. And I mean, I get it. But until he understood it, it was my fault.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it was.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing working in, retail farms and all that. It's like, yeah, and I hate it. The guys that come in are at least a little bit, I don't know what happened. Or like, man, I think, for me, I'm always like, dude, if the best way to get help from me, because let's not forget, you're the customer. You're coming to me to help you with a problem. You come in like an ass. Like, guess what? I'm not really motivated to help you. That's something that I was like, if you want some good customer service, like, maybe start by not pissing off somebody that again, let's not forget, you need something from these people, from us. So but I mean, the best way to get a good responsibility is to just take as much responsibility on your own and be like, dude, even if you're like, I was a complete idiot and this is exactly what I did and this is completely my fault. Like, I know I should have to just pay for everything here. It's not your responsibility. Those are the guys that be like, dude, I get it. Thanks, bro. Thanks for being cool. You're going to help them out. And I'm probably going to comp you and or discount or whatever, and just give you as much help as
Tony,
possible.
how many times have you helped guys out, like with the warranty issues on blown up bows?
More times than I can count. I call it the good guys program. Like, you come in, they're super honest. You tell me up front, like, hey, dude, I screwed up. I messed up. What can you do? Usually I can call the company, explain kind of what happened, and 9 times out of 10, the company's going to work with us.
That's the thing. It's like if you come in here with an attitude, it's different.
Yeah, if you come in with an attitude, I'm like, I got to drive fire this boat. He did, cans are $500. Like end of story. Because.
But if you come in here a little humble and say, dude, I will bend over backwards to help you out.
I will call. I
feel bad for you. It sucks. I'll do everything. I mean, I'd be able to do everything for free, but I'll give it to you at cost, whatever I got. I'll
give you the best deal we can.
You come with an attitude, it's like, dude, we're ringing things up, man. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
Yeah, but like some guys, these come in and they're all like, you can tell they got in the back of their mind, customer's always right. You just have to be cool with everything I say.
Yep. But, yeah. That's saying that customer, 99% of the time, the customer's usually wrong.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I hate to say that, but it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, you try to be subtle about it. Like I said, Antonio's much better at it than I am. I am like, I'll call a spade pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
And like, you know what? You can pound sand right out that door right there. Yeah. Came in. I had a guy come in. Yeah. He had a Bowtech Assassin, and his name was Cody. And super nice guy. And I said, Cody, you get you a new bow, man. Look, he goes, whenever I get an elk tag, Brian, I'll buy him a new bow. This went on for years. He comes in one year, he's like, buying a new bow today. I'm like, you get an elk tag? He's like, yeah, I did. We're like, her high-fiving it. Yes, dude, congratulations. He buys this new Bowtech bow, goes home, shoots it, and a week later comes in, bow is tacoed. I mean, cams are wasted on it. He's like, I'm an idiot. I go, what? I was in the backyard with my son, and we're talking. I didn't put an arrow in it, blew it up. I go, dude, let me have it. I go, let me see what I can do. I call Bowtech, good customer of mine. What can we do? I made him a set of strings. We got him back on there. He's all happy. He's like, thanks, man. You saved me. A week later, I'm driving in to the shop. And I see Cody leaving. And I walk in, and Richard, I go, hey, was that Cody? He's like, yeah. Guess what? Did it again. Blew it up again. Cody comes in. He's like, I don't know what the hell. I can't believe this is happening to me. I go, I only going to get a warranty twice, dude. He's like, I know. I goes, he felt so bad. I felt so bad for the guy. I'm like, here he is. And this is like a week before his elk hunt. I'm like, you're going to take my bow. I go, there's no way I can get parts. And they end up overnighting parts to me to get the guy up there. But guys like
But
that.
a guy comes in being a dick. You're not letting him borrow your bow.
Hell no. No, man. You can shoot a 20-pound recurve for all I care. Yeah. But I have.
You're gonna have to shoot a crossbow, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Go get your
permit.
Do you have a buddy that's a physician? Give you a note and do a crossbow.
Okay, so that's going to be the first half of our conversation with Kevin, and we'll get the next half going next week. I'll release that one out for you. It's always fun to listen to a guy who has transitioned into archery and from a firearms background, and how he sees the archery industry and his love and his passion that he's getting for the archery itself. And he's just like a big old sponge sucking this thing up. So it's always fun to see that and listen to his perspective on it. So join us next week as we do the other half of this. And thanks again for watching.